Now, if you think the concept of onion goggles is stupid, let's see who's crying in about 5 minutes. Oh, thanks for clicking on this video. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. Welcome back to Video Breakdown, the show where I try to reverse engineer a content creator's style and see how hard or how easy the process is. Today we're looking at one of the best sources on YouTube for excellent recipes, and that's Food Wishes, hosted by Chef John. Food Wishes currently has over 4 million subscribers on YouTube and almost 2,000 videos, which is no surprise because Chef John's been on YouTube for 15 years. I've been a fan of Chef John and Food Wishes ever since my brother showed me his recipe videos. His interesting way of talking can take some time to get used to, but once you do, you are going to find some excellent recipes that you're going to want to make for all your friends and family. Personally, I'm a big foodie, I love cooking, and I've been really excited to do an episode about a food-related channel. So what better food channel than Food Wishes? Let's jump over to the computer and do a little bit of research on what we're dealing with. Okay, so we got that classic piano riff that I imagine is probably GarageBand or iMovie. We got a little simple banner that comes up, maybe 80% opacity showing the name of the dish. Little zoom in of a final picture of the dish, usually on a placemat or food styled in a nice way. And then after that, he basically just very simply points the camera at what he's doing, sort of from like an eye level looking down at the table, and makes the recipe. He's got some close-ups, some slightly wider shots, varying backgrounds of cutting boards or his classic metal table or just on the stovetop. And of course, he has his very specific way of talking. And he always has a little pun where he says, "You are the da-da-da-da-da of your da-da-da-da-da." And of course, he doesn't show his face. He keeps the focus on the food. Pretty simple approach. I love it. As usual, I'm gonna try and produce a video in the Food Wishes style that is about a particular topic that he hasn't already covered, which is gonna be very difficult because at almost 2,000 videos, what food hasn't he covered? But I think I found one. I know Chef John actually invents the recipes and takes the time to test them out before filming, but honestly, he's probably been honing those recipes for decades, and I'm feeling a little bit under the weather and I need a bit of a simpler episode, so I'm just gonna pick an existing recipe. And that recipe would be this. This is baked penne with sausage, zucchini, and fontina. This is a recipe that I have made before, and I can tell you it is absolutely freaking delicious. My mom showed me this recipe, and she said she got it out of an old Bon Appetit magazine. I've actually made this recipe on camera before, but that was in a completely different style than Food Wishes, so this will be something a little new. Now, the reason I picked this recipe is, while you can find it online, not only has Chef John not done this recipe as a video, but I couldn't find anyone on YouTube who had done this as a video. So hopefully by the time we make it through this, you'll have an appetite for this recipe and a nice instructional video to help you make it. Honestly, the videography in these videos is pretty rudimentary, no offense, Chef John, so I'm not really envisioning many technical challenges along the way, but hey, I've been surprised before. Now, considering my current situation, shopping for this one might be a little more difficult, but let's try to make it happen. Okay, since the recipe's already solidified, I'm just gonna worry about filming for now, and I'm gonna write the script and do the voiceover later down the line. This is the easy part. Our dining room table here is where I'm gonna film, but the surface is looking a bit worse for wear. It's been a while since this was painted. I would like to use this little square backdrop that I have, since this looks a little nicer and it's closer to what Chef John actually has in his videos. But I'll have to be careful to hide the edges. This is the casserole dish that I'm intending on using for this recipe, and you can see it kind of just fits in there. So that might be a little bit of a challenge. I don't know if I'll go with this. As far as camera and lighting go, it seems to me like Chef John only uses natural light. He has a lot of reflections in his videos, and I never really see any light set up. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but for now, I'm gonna go with the nice soft lighting that's coming in through my window. There's a lot of clouds out there, so that's looking pretty good. Let me get some of my gubbins out of the way here. And because I think you, the audience, are actually gonna end up seeing more footage from this angle than my actual episode angle, I'm gonna use my slightly nicer camera for this and my slightly less nice camera for the Food Wishes episode. Okay, Chef John normally stands opposite the camera, so the camera's at one end and you see his hands working from the other side of the frame coming down. But it just occurred to me that the light is usually coming in from the left side in his videos, not the right side, which is how I have it set up now. So let's see if we can switch that around. Okay, that'll probably work, but this most definitely will not. If I have this platform pushed all the way towards the camera, then you might not be able to see the edges, but then I won't be able to work effectively. If I have it pushed all the way towards me, then I can work just fine, but you're definitely gonna see the edges. So we're gonna ditch this thing. I'm gonna use my coffee table here to house all my ingredients and tools that I'm gonna need. You probably can't see that, huh?
Coffee table. Ingredients. Ooh. Okay, so we got kosher salt and black pepper, our package of penne pasta, 1 big old onion, about a cup of heavy whipping cream, a block of fontina cheese. This might actually not be enough. 3 zucchinis, and about a pound of hot Italian sausage, of which I'm gonna use half. Okay, yeah, looking at the recipe, we're a little bit light on fontina cheese. This is 150 grams and I need about 230. I should have specified how much I needed, that's okay. I'm just gonna fudge it. You know, you don't realize how tarnished your dishware is until you're about to use it on camera. Almost forgot oregano. I don't actually have oregano, but this is Italian seasoning, it's close enough. We have our induction cooktop, our main very terrible looking pan for the sausage mixture, our smaller pot for boiling the pasta. Honestly, I might cheat this because these kind of need to be going at the same time and I only have 1 induction cooktop. So I think I'm gonna start this on the cooktop and then actually just move it over to my oven in the kitchen so that I can have them going at the same time. Our main cutting board for the zucchini and onion, slotted spatula, a pretty dull knife, cheese grater for the fontina, and my onion goggles. What? You got something to say about my onion goggles? Okay, let's get this tidied up and start the show. Chef John really doesn't show any name brands in his videos, so I'm gonna try and pour these sort of from a height so you don't see it. Oh, let's not forget our extension cable for this guy. Here's my strategy for the pasta. I'm gonna fill the pot up with water and start the induction burner. Then immediately I'm gonna move it to the stove, let it boil. Then when it's boiling, I'm gonna bring it back over here, pretend that it was boiling here all along, and then pour in the pasta, then bring it back to the stove so I can continue what I'm doing here. And wow, we are already at half battery on this camera and we haven't even shot anything. We got 2 lenses here, a 50 and a 24 for close-ups and slightly wides. Okay, finally we get to hit record. Is this pot too big? I'm only using half of the package. Yeah, that's probably overkill. But this is my only pot that has a glass top. Urgh. Fine, I'll go with it. Pay no attention to the water droplets that are already in the pot. I guess I don't actually have to start it. We'll just get it out of there. All right, I'm not actually gonna need the pasta for a while and I don't want it to overcook in the water, so I'm not actually gonna put it in until I'm closer to needing it. All right, immediate observation, it takes way longer to cook something and film it than it does to just cook it. Cut each zucchini half into thirds. Zucchini half? Huh? Oh, the ingredients say 3 medium zucchinis halved lengthwise. Why put that in the ingredients? Just say half it as the first instruction. Honestly, I think the 50 as a lens is slightly too artsy for food wishes, so we're gonna go back to the 24. I can't say I paid this much attention to the specific way I'm supposed to cut these zucchinis when I've made this recipe before, but this seems a little weird. In half lengthwise, and then in thirds lengthwise, and then cross-cut. That's very specific. Okay, I don't have a great place to put the zucchini until I need it, so I'll just throw it in here, I guess. Now, just for variety in the shots, I will switch back to the 50 for the onion. 1 onion chopped. It doesn't say what size of onion to use, which is kind of stupid, but this one's huge, so we're going with a huge one. And this calls for onion goggles. Now, if you think the concept of onion goggles is stupid, let's see who's crying in about 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, this knife is like too dull to even cut the onion skin. You are Forrest Gump's Jenny to your sausage, zucchini, and penne. Maybe not. Hey Google, what rhymes with sausage?
I didn't understand.
Yeah, of course you didn't. Oh man, it's hot with these goggles on. But I can tell based on what's coming into my nose that if I didn't have these goggles on, I would be having a bad time right now. Oh man, I really gotta sharpen my knives. This is embarrassing. Whew, these onions are stinking the place up. My onion goggles may be fogged up, but at least I'm protected. I know these onions are going everywhere, but I'm not even gonna bother doing it a second time because I know the same thing would just happen again. Oh, my back is starting to hurt from doing all this cutting on a surface that's so low. I can see again. Okay, the food wishes cam is almost dead.
Okay, next step is cook sausage in skillet until no longer pink, breaking up with a fork. Remove to bowl with slotted spoon. I don't have a slotted spoon, I have a slotted spatula. It'll have to do. Then add onion, cook 5 minutes, then add zucchini, salt, pepper, saute until almost tender, about 8 minutes.
The recipe doesn't say to, but I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. 8 is the max temp. I guess we'll go on 6. Here we go with a bit of olive oil. Oh, I wasn't recording for that. Okay, now the onion is staying in my eyes, or else it's this. So since this is a pound and I need half of it, That's 3 big old sausages. I'm gonna squeeze 1.5 sausages into the pan. Shh, I'm your friend. Oh, ow. I hit the side of the pan with my hand and splattered oil onto my arm. I'm okay, it's okay. I'm kind of surprised that it's half a pound only. That doesn't seem like very much. Time to wash my hands before I do anything else. I've also grabbed a trivet. Something tells me I'm gonna need that in a few minutes. Sausages are getting a bit of nice color. I might add a bit more olive oil just to make sure that nothing burns. I'm gonna scrape it to the back end of the pot so that this camera sees it a little better. All right, I'm not too worried about cross-contamination with this having touched raw meat and then touched cooked meat because this meat is gonna be cooked more fully in the oven anyway. Come on now, get on my slotted spatula. It's a good time. Make sure we're in focus. Don't burn my chin. And off we go. Now I will switch my utensil. All right, in the meantime, while that's going on, I'm gonna grate my fontina. I don't want the episode to come off disingenuous, so I think instead of pretending that this is the correct amount of fontina, maybe I'll just make a little joke about it. Appetizing red wax, nice. Little red wax bits are gonna end up in the dish. It's inevitable. This guy a little stir. Don't burn, please. Not after all this. Don't burn. I am a master cheese grater, so I'm hoping I can get this all grated and done before the onions are done. And my grater broke. That's how powerful at cheese grating I am. Let's bring the onions back into the limelight here. Oh my gosh, the caramelization is beautiful. It smells amazing.
Add zucchini, salt, and pepper, saute until almost tender, 8 minutes.
We are well on our way here. Now, I think now is the perfect time to get the pasta going for real. Hey Google, set a timer for 8 minutes. Ow! I'm gonna start the boil on the oven, then when it's boiling, I'll move it over here and fake it. Whew, this is the last time I pick 8 p.m. as the perfect time to make a video with only natural light. Oh, this is still rolling. Hello. The bowl's not big enough. Okay. Hey, remember 5 seconds ago when I said the bowl's not big enough and then I didn't go and get a different bowl? That was hilarious. Next time somebody tries to get all up in your business, be like, hey, it's none of your cheese wax. My pasta's ready to be cooked. I think I'll have just barely enough time to do the old switcheroo and let this guy keep cooking. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, this pot doesn't work with the induction burner. Well, it's just as well, I'm faking it. In you go. Okay, and now the switch back. No one will ever know. Everything appears to be as it should be. It just says salt and pepper to taste, but I don't think tasting it at this point would be very helpful, so I'm just gonna kind of add a generous amount. What I meant by I don't think it'll be very helpful was I will probably burn my freaking mouth.
Okay, return sausage to skillet, add cream and oregano, and bring to a boil.
And where's my oregano? Where is it? Where's the oregano? Oh, wow, I got to a boil really fast. Okay, now that is starting to smell good. Half the fontina, approximately. Boom. Let's do it. Yummers. Ow! Wonder how often Chef John burns himself in the kitchen.
Meanwhile, cook pasta in salted water until just tender but still firm to the bite.
And in the 3 minutes remaining for my pasta, I am going to grease my casserole dish. Time to grease. I think Chef John usually just does this with his fingers. I'd say that's a heck of a good greasing. I think I overdid my pasta just a little bit. It's right about where I would want it to be if I was gonna just eat it right now, but it's gonna be cooked again in the oven, so might be a little bit mushy, but the video's not gonna be evident of that. Now to bring it all together, here we go. Oh, not from that end. I'm gonna block my light. Ugh. Is it even possible to make a recipe and not spill? Let's find out. Apparently not. We are in the home stretch, my friends. We're almost there.
We're almost there.
Now I'm gonna taste for seasoning because it's mostly done. A little bit more pepper, quite a bit more salt. And let's do this. Oh, shush. Oh, doesn't that just look delectable? Mwah. Mwah. Delicious.
Okay, I'm gonna make one more switch to the 50 just to get a nice tight shot of all the cheese.
This really isn't as much cheese as I'm supposed to have, but I only have myself to blame for that. And the last step before I get a nice little break was just to put it in the oven. Now we're going on a little adventure. Okay, I'm being presented with a problem here. This thing needs 20 minutes in the oven, and by the time it comes out, I may have completely lost my light. And I can't really leave it and film it the next morning So I may have to set up a light and pretend it's the sun. In any case, to the oven we go. Okay, don't mind my messy stovetop. It's only messy because I use it. Okay, I'm gonna have to get down real low here and set up my shot before I open the oven so that I don't lose all the heat. Oh crap, I left something in there.
Who said there was anything wrong with f3.5? Not me.
Okay, this is like right in my face, so I have a huge potential for getting burned, but whatever. Rolling, and in goes the dish. Don't burn my legs, don't burn the legs. Okay, I'm gonna have a nice cold beverage and sit down. So yeah, the light is fading fast and I don't really wanna re-bake this in the morning. I'm gonna try and set up a light on the outside of my balcony. It's probably gonna look nowhere the same as real daylight, but I'm trying here. I gotta do something. So let's do that and clean some of this up. Okay, there. Fakey sun, kind of. I know it looks terrible, shush. Look, it doesn't matter if you think it's the sun. All that matters is that this camera thinks it's the sun. In fact, okay, let's move this a little bit closer towards it so we can fake it a little bit better. 5 minutes left on the timer. I will see you back here then. Okay, timer's just about done. I've got my stuff to take out my piece. I've got my plate and fork to eat my piece. And I have this lovely little blue placemat on which I'm going to put the finished dish. When I photograph it, I'm actually gonna photograph it as the full casserole because I think that'll look nicer than a piece on a plate that's probably gonna be partially falling apart. And I'm probably gonna have to steal that camera to do it, so deal with that. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Baked sausage and penne and zucchini with fontina cheese. It's here! Okay, excuse me one moment while I steal you for some pictures. Okay, now it's time for the last couple of shots, and then we can tear down. And I can finally eat the dang thing. I haven't even been thinking about that part. Ow! That's what I get for trying to be whimsical. Your Honor, what is this white balance? Your Honor, what is that white balance? It's gonna look so bad. Now you see why I did not want to photograph it once it was on the plate. I'll probably do something here like, you might want to let it rest a bit until it solidifies, but I couldn't wait. I was too excited to eat. Something like that. Okay, and last, very much not least, the taste test. See a little bit of cheese wax in there. It's pretty spicy from the hot Italian sausage. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's cheese, sausage, zucchini, and pasta. It's hard to go wrong. And that's all there is to it. Okay, I'm gonna go peg out on this. And the next time I see you, we'll probably either be doing a little bit of editing or writing the script. I imagine probably some editing first so I know what the flow is gonna be like. And then we'll sit down and we'll write some Chef John jokes. See you then. Hey, you know what's really cool? When you get through a round of filming and then you realize you weren't recording audio. That's the coolest. All right, we are back, people. Reach for the sky, reach for the stars. The visual portion of the episode is almost entirely edited, only took me about half an hour. It's time to write the script. I'm gonna watch some Food Wishes episodes, type out some notes here, watch the episode that I've edited so far, and then type up the script. Let's do it. So at the very least, he always starts out with, hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with, and then I guess I'm calling this baked penne, sausage, zucchini, and fontina. It's a bit of a long name, but I don't know what else to call it. Italian surprise. No.
Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with proper British fish cake.
He always goes, that's right, when he introduces the food. I'm gonna say he starts out with the reasoning for the recipe and why it's so good to make it. Okay, he always puts the emphasis on freshly chopped or freshly grated. Sometimes mentions substitutes. Okay, I actually didn't put cayenne into this recipe even though that's kind of his signature, but I already used spicy Italian sausage, so it wasn't really needed. So maybe I'll just make a joke about that. Like when I shake in the oregano, I'll say, shake a cayenne. Just kidding, it's actually oregano. I'm also seeing he uses those little text callouts specifically when he's dealing with temperature, like medium heat or what to set the oven to. Other than that, he doesn't really use those, except for the title. What I'm constantly hearing is anytime he gives direction, he doesn't say, I did this. He doesn't say, you'll do this. He says, we'll do this. We're gonna use a little shake of cayenne. We're all in this together. Okay, so he obviously makes that rhyming joke every episode. So here he says, you are, after all, the sister sledge of your something. What was it? You are the sister sledge of how to dredge. But the way that he incorporates it is always right after an optional part of the recipe. So like you can do it this way or that way. It's up to you. Okay, he ends every episode with, then I really hope you give this a try soon. And as always, enjoy. Okay, let's get to writing. Okay, that whole process took about an hour. Definitely a little longer than I thought it would, but I think I got a pretty good script here. Time to voice it. Cutting those sixths into quarters crosswise. Because the only thing worse than a casserole with too little cheese. Oh my goodness. All right, now that the narration is done, we're gonna marry the audio with the video, and we're almost ready to watch this thing. Let's get to some editing. Already, I can tell you that took longer than I thought it was going to, so let's waste no more time and just get right into the episode. Here is Food Wishes. Hello, this is Chef Andrew from foodwishes.com with baked penne, sausage, zucchini, and fontina. That's right, today we're doing a recipe that my mom taught to me, and that her mom taught to her. Except not really, since she got it out of a magazine. But wherever it came from, this dish is not only extremely filling, but also rather simple to make. So to get started, we're going to fill a medium-sized pot with cold water, and throw in some salt. And you don't have to use kosher salt here, because it'll end up just dissolving, so the shape doesn't really matter. But I did anyway, because it's what was next to me. But anyway, we're going to cover that pot and set it to boil over high heat. And meanwhile, we're going to take 3 zucchinis and cut them in half lengthwise, before cutting those halves in thirds lengthwise. And finally, cutting those sixths into quarters crosswise. And I'm not entirely sure why such a specific way of cutting the zucchini is necessary, but it definitely is. Or maybe it isn't. In fact, cut it however way you want, in 12ths, 6ths, or even 18ths, because you are, after all, the Alfredo linguine of your baked zucchini. And yes, anyone can cook. But anyway, we'll also chop up a large sweet onion in whatever way strikes your fancy. And yes, I'm using the time-consuming, but effective hold-it-by-the-tail technique, but you can throw it in a slap chop for all I care. But however way you cut your veggies, we'll set them aside to deal with later. We'll also grab a half pound of fontina cheese, which for those using the metric system, is about 226 grams, and I don't have quite enough here, because I forgot how to convert. But that's alright. I didn't need the extra calories anyway. Plus, I'm burning at least a few hundred trying to get this wax off. And once the cheese is nearly free of wax, we can go ahead and grate it on our box grater, and then set it aside. And last but not least, on the prep side of things, we'll give our casserole dish a nice greasing. And you can totally go without greasing, it'll just be a bit harder to remove a slice. So if you have the time, I do recommend it, because the only thing worse than a casserole with too little cheese is one that you can't even serve. But anyway, what we'll do once our ingredients are prepped is set a large skillet over medium-high heat, and we'll go ahead and throw in 3 hot Italian sausages, with the casing removed, of course. And we'll mash those up and cook them until some nice color has emerged, and they're no longer pink. And once they are, we'll remove the meat from the pot, making sure to leave plenty of that oil and fat to let the rest of our ingredients cook in. And speaking of which, we'll go ahead and grab all that chopped onion that we set aside earlier, and toss it around in the fat, just until it goes translucent and soft. So maybe about 5 minutes. And you could wait the full 5 minutes before you put the zucchini in, but I didn't. I was too excited. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. Once your pasta water has boiled, we'll go ahead and throw our penne in the pot and cook it just shy of the package directions. because once we've almost reached al dente, we're going to let the pasta finish cooking in the oven. So anyway, once those zucchini have made it into the pot, we'll go ahead and give it a little toss and saute until almost tender, or until you get bored and don't feel like cooking it anymore. So once either of those things happens, we'll add back in that delicious ground sausage, and we'll drizzle in a cup of heavy whipping cream. Okay, and as that cream quickly comes to a boil, it's going to absorb and help spread around all those delicious flavors that have come to the party in the pot. And of course, with that heavy cream, we're also going to add a little shake of cayenne. Except this is actually Italian seasoning. Since we use hot Italian sausage, there isn't any need for the extra heat. And also, I didn't have oregano. But anyway, once the cream is boiled, we're going to add in half of our grated fontina, which for me was really about a third of what you really need. So do as I say, not as I do. I'm looking at you, Kathy. And yes, we're going to stir that around until you get those nice cheese strings. No, not those cheese strings. And finally, we're going to add in all that penne, which should be done cooking by now. And if it's not, you may need to reevaluate your time management skills. And now would be a good time to taste for seasoning. So if you wanted to, you could add some more salt and some freshly ground black pepper, which I definitely added when the camera wasn't running. But anyway, as you might have guessed, we're going to add that whole mixture to the buttered casserole dish from earlier and spread it all around the outside. Round the outside, round the outside. And finally, as the topping, we're going to add in the remainder of our fontina, which again, should be more than this. And what is basically the final step in this recipe, okay, besides eating it, is we're going to transfer it into the center of a 375-degree oven for about 20 minutes, which isn't going to do that much cooking, but mostly it's going to melt that cheese on the top and help solidify the pieces. And speaking of which, you should probably wait a few minutes after you take it out of the oven so your slices have more structural integrity, but I didn't. And as you can see, I paid the price for it. But despite the ugly plating and downright mouth-burning temperature, this cheesy fatty mess really was more than the sum of its parts, which is to say, very delicious. And I ate it all by myself. But whether you're looking for a simple, crowd-pleasing meal, or you just want to feed your face on an evening in, I really do hope you give this a try soon. So head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.
Yeah, so that happened. Honestly, elephant in the room, I feel like this is maybe the first episode that I didn't quite nail. I don't know if I would go as far as to say I failed, but there's a lot of things I'm not happy with. There were multiple shots where I blew focus. Somehow I was constantly shaking the table. I don't even know how that happened. And I didn't make sure that everything was properly lit all the time. And overall, I don't think I accurately captured the Food Wishes style of filming. At least not 100%. Even the picture I took at the end was grainy and didn't really have proper food styling. This might actually be a topic that I revisit in a future episode, and next time I'll focus more on the actual videography characteristics and less on the recipe itself. I'll probably do something more basic like, I don't know, iced tea or something. Okay, so what did we learn? Well, as with most things, doing something while filming it takes at least twice as long as just doing it without filming it. Especially if you're cooking and you're not cooking in the kitchen and you're on your friggin' dining room table. There weren't really any surprises with the recipe itself. I've made it 2 or 3 times before, so that was no problem. But the script writing took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Overall time breakdown, shooting took about 2 hours, which was kind of expected. I probably could have gotten the recipe done without filming it in an hour, so 2 hours with filming makes sense. Editing altogether took about an hour and a half, not too bad, and then the script writing and voiceover took over an hour, which surprised me. It definitely gives me a lot more respect for Chef John's script writing and all the little pieces of information and pizzazz that he uses to really punch up his videos and make them entertaining. I'm gonna say the cost breakdown doesn't really matter this time because more than likely you're gonna be spending money on food anyway, so it's not really an added expense that you wouldn't otherwise be doing. So overall difficulty rating,
maybe a 5, right in the middle of the road. It's not particularly difficult to just set a camera down and film yourself making a recipe, but what is difficult is reverse engineering the specific way and style that somebody shoots something. For example, if I was gonna film these videos not in the Food Wishes style, I would probably just mount the camera top down, pointing straight down to make sure that pretty much everything stayed in focus all the time, kind of like a tasty video, but that's not how Chef John does it. We also definitely learned to not start filming a video using natural light around 7 or 8 p.m. when the sun is about to go down. Not making that mistake again. So overall, there's room for improvement, and I'd be willing to tackle Food Wishes again. Chef John, if you saw this video, I really hope you found it entertaining. And all you audience members out there, go ahead and subscribe to Food Wishes. You're not gonna be disappointed by the quality of recipes that comes out of that channel. And I really do hope you give this recipe a try soon. Really. That's it, that's all for this episode, and go make somebody smile today.